real quick, these you'll write. This is the notes that we're going to do. But before we do that, there's on the try it today some things from our previous notes that we didn't have on our last one, and we didn't take on the quiz. So they're kind of jumbled together. So you might need to refer back to these notes, okay? And the part that I'm talking about is, well, knowing what happens when there's a negative, right? Okay, when the negative comes out, it changes to an I, right? Okay, so what you're going to see in this section is where you have multiple things. Not that, because you already did the adding in the last one. Okay, so I squared. Anytime you have an I squared, it changes to a -1. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're going to need to know that. And we're going to practice it so you'll see it. Okay, so when you'll have this in this section where you have two of them that you multiply, you separate them separate. Okay, so I would do this one, so it's a -1 times 6. The -1 comes out as the I. Okay, this was all in your notes last time. This one, the -20, the -1 comes out as an I, but I still break down 20, right? Which came down to this part right here, because I had a pair of 2's. Okay, so I had 2I times I. Well, we just said I squared is equal to what? -1. So this +2 times the -1 is going to change it to a -2. So basically it just switches the signs of whatever that number is. Okay, so we're going to have that in this section because you didn't practice it in the last one. And you had another one in your notes. So I'm just telling you, you can find these in your notes. You're going to have one like this on the try it today. Okay, and it's just distributing, combining like terms, other than if you have an I squared, you're going to change the +54 to a -54. So there's no longer an I, okay, because it was squared. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so on to today's notes. Okay, so objective 74, 75. You're going to write 2 plus 3i over 5 minus 2i. Okay, a couple of sections ago, we had radicals, okay, so the square root, and we said that it's not proper to have radicals in the denominator. So we multiply the top and the bottom by the radical to get rid of it, right? But there was something different that we did when we had binomials that had radicals.
Flip the sign.
Flip the sign. So same thing in this one, is we can't have imaginary numbers in the denominator. So we can't have the I in the denominator. So we're going to do the same thing we did with radicals. Is we're going to multiply it by the exact same thing, but we're going to switch the sign. And you only switch the sign of the one that has the I. Okay? Same thing with the radical. Okay? So I'm going to multiply this by 5 plus 2i. And whatever I multiply the bottom by, I need to multiply the top one. Get that point?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're just distributing. So I'm only working with the numerator for right now. So 2 times 5 would give me 10. 2 times 2i gives me 4i. Okay, I'm done distributing the 2, so now I distribute the 3i, which gives me 15i. Okay, and then this times this is going to give me 6i squared. Questions up to there? Okay, in the last notes we took, I squared is equivalent to a -1. So this is really 6 times a -1, which is just going to change that +6 to a -6. Okay, so now I'm combining like terms. Okay, so I have a 10 and a -6. 4. Okay, and then 4i and 15i. 99. Okay, so the only thing I've simplified right now is I'm done with the numerator. Remember, order matters when you write these, and which was also in your last notes. You write the real number and then the imaginary number. Okay, you have that in your notes. I think it was A plus BI. That's the way it was written. Okay, so now I need to distribute the denominator. Okay, so 5 times 5 would be 25. Okay, but this next one, they cancel each other out. If you can remember from the radical one. When I distribute 5 to 2i, it's going to give me 10i, right? And then this is going to give me a -10i. So they're just going to cancel each other out. So really I don't need to worry about this. So a -2 times, or -2i times 2i is going to be a -4i squared, which means this I squared is going to change this -4 to a +4. So it's 25 plus 4. 29. Now we're done. Okay, so we got rid of the imaginary number in the bottom. Okay, there's no I down there. So 4 plus 19i over 29. And all that's what this whole section, other than doing some that we didn't do in the last section. Okay, so the red one is the original. So we're just showing it minus the numbers. Okay, the red one is the original. I multiply it by the opposite because I can't have I in the bottom. Okay, so a minus bi, a minus bi. Okay, this time I'm only distributing one number versus two numbers. Okay, when you write these, write them alphabetical. Okay, so when I multiply those two, it's AC. Okay, when I distribute that to that one, then it's going to be BCI. Good. Okay, so then on the bottom, I'm going to have a times a, which is a squared. Remember I said you don't need to worry about this and this because they'll cancel each other out as long as you put a positive negative. Okay, but then this one's going to be a negative b squared I squared, which that I squared just changes the b squared to a positive. So as long as there is no I when you're done, you get it right. Regardless if it's numbers, no numbers. There's no I in the denominator.
There's no I. Oh.
You can't have I's in the denominator. So we got rid of it.
Yep.
Okay. Next one. Okay. What am I multiplying by? 2 minus 3x. Okay. Okay, so distributing, so 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. 3 times negative 3 is going to give me a negative 9i plus 8i. Right, so that comes out, it's going to give you a negative 12i squared, which means that I squared is going to change that negative 12 to a positive 12. So if you need to write that, like where that came from, make sure you do that. Somebody will just start automatically changing it. Okay, combining our like terms, so that would make that 18 minus 1i. Right, and you could just put minus I, that would be the same thing, just remember it's real number, imaginary number. Okay, then on the bottom, we're going to have 2 times 2, right, which would be 4. And then what? Negative 9i squared, positive 9, so I shouldn't have put that there. Right, so it'll be 4 plus 9, which is... Okay, now, 2 of them, and I'll tell you when you get to try it, which ones they are, and I'll tell you in the lesson quiz tomorrow as well. But 2 of them that you have today, if you have just a whole number that's on the bottom, a singleton, okay, sometimes you can reduce. So if this, this, and this had something in common, then you would reduce it, okay? So say that was 1300. Say we had 18, 2i, and 6, okay? Then 6, 2 could go into this, this, and this. So you would just reduce those whole numbers, and you can only do that when there's a singleton.
So
Okay.
3 and 9.
Right. Okay.
You wouldn't have to put the or these numbers.
The I would be there. So if I divide
If singleton means there's only one
on the box, yeah. You can't have this and then like
That would
reduce
be
it.
9 minus I over 3.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you wouldn't do like 9 minus 1/3 I?
1/3.
No, because a 9.
Sorry, 6 minus
You could write it as 3 minus
3.
1/3 I.
Yeah.
Right. But don't. They won't have it like that, but you could. Yes.
You're just overcomplicating.
Yes. He does like.
She's like, yes.
Yes. But no. Yes is a yes. You could.
Oh.
Okay. You are trying this one. Do I need to do that one? We good? Okay. Mr. Lee said no. Okay. This last one that I'm doing with you, I'm just doing it with you just because it doesn't have two. It doesn't have a binomial, so I just don't want you to get thrown off. So this is just the last one, and then you're going to do the try. Okay, so 3 plus 4i over a negative 5i. Okay, when it's not a binomial, you don't write it as the opposite. You only do that when it's got a binomial on the bottom. Okay, so the only thing you really need to get rid of is the I. Okay, it's just like having a radical at the bottom, you multiply the top and the bottom by the radical. Okay, so this one we just need to multiply the top and the bottom by the I. That's what we can't have in the bottom. So now I'm just distributing one thing. That's kind of like the variable one that we did, where it was all variables. Okay, so I'm distributing that to that, which is just going to be 3i. Distributing that to that, which is really 4i squared, which will change that 4 to a negative. But remember when we write it in order, it's the real number first and then, so this is the way it should be written. Okay, then on the bottom, when I combine and multiply these two, I have a negative 5i squared. Well, the I squared is going to change that negative 5 to a positive 5. And you're done. Because that 5 can't go and reduce with anything that's there. Okay, so but say that was a 15 and that was a 20, then you would take the 5 into each one of those and reduce it. Okay? Good? Okay. Hopefully this is simple, other than there's just a few things on there on the triad that you had from your last notes. So if you need to get your last notes out, you might need to look back at that. And I'll tell you which ones. There's only 2 on here that you'll reduce. If any of you guys are going to be gone tomorrow, because I know some are, they've already handed theirs in, just so you're not forgetting by the time you get back from spring break, I would do that. Yes.
I'll be gone tomorrow.
So if you get this done, hand it in. Okay. So that's one less thing to have to worry about after spring break. I remember what I did. Paper to cut yourself in the process. Okay, so on the triad, number 46, it'll come out something similar to this, where you'll simplify, and when you do it, there should be no denominator left. Okay, but make sure you go through the whole process. Don't try to reduce in the beginning, okay, because you're not then getting rid of the denominator. You got to get rid of the denominator, then reduce. Okay, so go through the process and do that. Okay.
So,
Yes.
so you couldn't just take, you wouldn't want us to take 3 out first? On 46?
You can't.
And then just multiply the I.
Try it. Try it. I don't think it'll work. You can try it. I don't think it'll work. I think you got to go through it and then simplify it. Okay, 51 is the other one. 51 will simplify because it'll have something in common to go into all the numbers, but it won't go evenly into the top like number 46 does. Okay, go for it.